The House of Grey, a podcast-only novel written by Collin Earl, read by Christopher Snellgrove. For more information about the book, please visit houseofgreybook.com. Music for The House of Grey provided by Figure of Fiends. Visit the band at myspace.com/Figure of Fiends. Cover art by James Thane. More information at THAYN.net.
Hey there, my name is Chris Snellgrove, and I'm the voice of Collin Earl's The House of Grey. This is the first episode of this podcast novel, and all of you are in for quite the treat. We love getting feedback from our listeners, so right after you finish this episode, be sure to shoot us a line over at houseofgreybook.com. Without further ado, we give you the Prologue. It was an average day in Western Washington, where average people went along with their average business. These average folks went to work and school, fought through traffic, and opened businesses for another day. School kids played in oversized raincoats, while mud spattered around their ankles and large droplets of rain ran the length of their Scotch-guarded clothing. Parents moved slowly through water-covered streets as they navigated the early morning of one of the wettest days of the year. Ironically enough, it is these average days that so often become more than just your average day. Why, might you ask, did this day that started like all the rest become more than average? Well, it started with the dream of a man and a boy, a whole lot of studying, and a little bit of luck. An important-looking man stood on a stage in an event center somewhere in the reaches of downtown Seattle. He was finely dressed, like he was hosting a black tie event. His brown hair was groomed to perfection, and the glare of stage lights reflected off of very white teeth. He spoke to a huge crowd of people in a smooth, almost silky voice.
Ladies and gentlemen, in my 5 years of hosting this competition, I have never seen anything like this. Our challenger and champion are neck and neck as they go into the final questions of the afternoon.
Cheers erupted all around as the huge crowd of the oddest assortment of spectators bellowed their approval at the man's words. This crowd was a spectacular one, made up of all kinds of people. Every age, sex, race, and ethnicity was present, because for the first time in 15 years, the Corn University Academic Scholarship Competition had come down to its very last round, to its very last question. This was a great day for those people who believed in and cheered for the underdog, as he had a real chance to upset the returning champion. An upset for more than one secretive and unfair reason should not have happened now, nor ever. This underdog looked the part, but he was not playing his assigned role very well at all. Although clearly from humble origins, he spoke eloquently, neither abashed nor intimidated, blending in well amongst an unfamiliar crowd. He was very handsome, with thick hair of darkest black, incredible blue-gray eyes, and soft features. He gave off an air of both importance and conviction that was infectious. In truth, every time he stood to answer a question, a portion of the crowd would break into raucous applause. They wanted him to win, and they wanted him to feel that they wanted him to win. And feel it he did. The young man, being the humble sort, merely smiled in reaction to the crowd, showing his gratitude with the slightest of gestures. An occasional, almost embarrassed wave and a simple smile made the mothers and daughters sway, and the fathers wonder what they needed to do to raise a young man like that. This competition had been an uphill battle for this young man, an unknown in all circles, from the political to the popular. He swept onto the scene with blaring intelligence, decimating contestants more than 3 years his senior. Slowly, the hearts of those who witnessed his struggle melted as over and over again he fired off answers about history's mysteries. Things went so well that by the time the finals came around, the underdog was not so under anymore. The man hosting the event put up his hand as the crowd, in spirit of competition, let out another thunderous round of applause. He showed them a toothy grin.
Now it has come down to this, ladies and gentlemen. Our challenger still holding strong right behind our champion as we go into the last round.
More applause and catcalls split the air.
Let me remind our audience of the scoring scale. Each question is worth 5 points with the ability to pass up to 3 questions, in addition to a doubler in each round. Depending on how fast you answer, the doubler has the ability to take a 5-point question and double it into a 10-point question.
The crowd was not paying attention to this part. This was just a wannabe game show host doing his wannabe game show thing. They had heard all of this explained before. But wait.
I know what you're thinking. We all know this. Why are you repeating it? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you why I'm repeating myself. This round is going to be a little different.
The crowd went silent at his words. Something different, they all asked collectively? What could they possibly do different? No, they could not change it now. Do not mess with the status quo. There's too much at stake.
I will remind our audience what is at stake as we go into this last round.
He turned and looked at a large TV camera.
I will let you know all this and more right after these messages.
People started to groan at his pronouncement. Given, going to a commercial break right when it gets good was an entertainer's way of doing things. For those in the audience, however, it was just downright annoying. Despite that the break was relatively short, most of the people in the audience grumbled as the stagehands made the necessary changes to the backdrop and stage for the final round of the competition. Each person in the audience took little notice of each other. Many of them were, after all, rich and important. Of course, with the success of this no-name challenger, the commoners seemed to come out of the woodwork. Well, the rich and important did not have time for mingling with commoners. Keep your distance. It was an unspoken rule. However, every rule has an exception, and this one was no different. A young girl, no older than 7, sat in the very back row, in the very last seat of this particular hall. She dressed finely, with perfectly styled hair that their in-house stylist did for her that morning. Her family spent the day shopping at some of the nicest, most expensive stores, eating out and playing on the streets of Seattle. Now they sat in a stuffy hall, watching some sort of game show. Truly, she was too far back to really see what was happening, and perhaps a little too young to even appreciate it. To her credit, she tried to act interested. She really did. Mommy and Daddy were acting like this was very important. But she just couldn't get her heart into it, no matter how hard she tried. What was the big deal anyway? She just wasn't interested at all. There were plenty of other people here, and they were all paying close attention, especially to that pretty boy at the front. Actually, she wasn't even sure if he was a boy. He kind of looked like a girl. Maybe he was a girl pretending to be a boy. That happened sometimes, didn't it? There was a noise behind the girl that startled her. She turned her little frame to peer over her shoulder. There was a man. She blinked in confusion. Was he there before? She considered this new development. She didn't remember there being anyone there, but she hadn't been paying close attention. She pondered a moment more. No, he couldn't have been there before. She was in the last row, in the last seat. He must have moved his chair to that corner. But she would have heard him. She would have noticed. Wouldn't she? The girl pivoted in her seat to look at him, trying to move so he would not notice. He was a funny man, wasn't he? Sitting completely stationary, not moving. She wondered why he wasn't moving. Maybe he was sleeping. This seemed like an odd place to sleep. She put his lack of movement aside for a moment, as she noticed something else. "You really are a funny man, aren't you? Why are you wearing such a big overcoat and hood?" She laughed. His coat was even broken. It didn't have any place for the arms to go. She giggled a bit more. "Isn't that weird? Why make a coat without the armholes?" "Oh, wait. Maybe he was one of those people she sees on the road from time to time. The ones with the signs?" A very sad feeling crept into her heart. He had a funny coat because he couldn't afford another one. And she had laughed at him. How rude. That's not something you should do. She had to apologize. That's what you do, right? When you make a mistake, you say, "I'm sorry." But it looked like he was still sleeping. Should she wake him? If she did, she would have to apologize for waking him too. Oh, what should she do? Oddly enough, as if he had been listening to her thoughts at the very moment she wondered this, the man sat up, one eye becoming visible under the coat. It was a while before she noticed. She gave another little start as she saw the very dark eye of the man. Could eyes really even be that dark? It looked almost black. The girl continued to look confused. Why did he pick black when something like pink is so much nicer? Grown-ups sure did funny things sometimes. She knew better than to talk to strangers, but her childish curiosity getting the better of her, she lifted up a hand and waved. The man smiled back. "Oh, what a nice smile. You should really smile more often. You wouldn't be so scary. Hey, what are you doing?" The man sat up a little straighter and leaned forward, coming closer to the little girl. Despite the fact that she had decided he was a nice man, she shrank back. Okay, he was still a little scary. The man lifted a hand out from underneath his funny coat, showing her there was nothing in it. "Oh, I see. You're about to do magic, aren't you? There was something like this at my party last year." This man, however, was a bit different than the clown she had seen so many months ago. When the clown did magic, he showed her and her friends his hands. Nothing was in them. Then poof, there were flowers. It was amazing. Her brother had said it wasn't real, that the flowers the clown had made appear were fake, and they were hidden. She, however, knew that that was just crazy. Flowers just don't appear, and magic really existed. She had seen it. The little girl wondered if this man really was going to do magic. She was not disappointed. He really was doing magic, though his way was much different than the clown's way. She thought he was praying or something, as he did some weird movement with his index and middle fingers while they pointed together in the air. Many questions bobbled around her head as she tried her best to comprehend what the man was doing. She received a further shock as a funny light gathered around the man's hand. Was she seeing this right? This new light did not last long, as suddenly a lollipop appeared in the man's hand. The little girl's eyes brightened as she looked at the lollipop. It was multicolored and as big as her head. Maybe he would share with... Oh, that's not how you hold a lollipop. You're gonna drop it. The man had taken the sucker and placed its stick down on the palm of his hand. He was balancing it on the palm of his hand. It sat there completely still, frozen. She looked on in awe, transfixed at the sight before her. This was unfortunate, because if she had been conscious of her surroundings, she would have seen his rather suspicious behavior.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
The MC effectively caught the attention of all those in the audience.
Now, allow me to explain our exciting change of events.
The little girl stopped listening again. She didn't understand what that silly man at the front was talking about anyway. Besides, the man with the lollipop was much more... Hey, where did it go? The lollipop was gone. He'd eaten it all? No way. He didn't even share. And she thought he was a nice man. The girl sat back in her seat, feeling sad. Suddenly, there was a tap on her shoulder. It was the man, and he was giving her a weird look. He was awfully hard to understand, this man with the funny coat. His 2 fingers were up again and moving very quickly through the air, much faster than they had before. "Are you praying again? But then, why did you tap me on the shoulder?" Out of nowhere,
"Look in your pocket."
his voice was soft, almost musical. It had an unexplainable effect on the girl. She felt lighter, though she did not understand why. She did what she was told. Slowly, she slid her hand into her pocket. She felt something. What did she feel? It was small, long, round, and very hard. What could it be? She started to pull at the object in her pocket when the lollipop came out with a small jerk. "No, wait, that's impossible. It's too big. There's no way. Should—" A voice interrupted her.
"Well, it's about time to go to work."
The man, he spoke, softly yet with brilliance. Almost forgetting the sucker in her hand, the girl once again turned. He was praying again. 2 fingers pointed together upward and again moved with curious gestures. Up, down, left, right, half circle. They were too fast. She couldn't keep track of them. More light? It was coming from his hand again. What was happening? The young girl jumped again as the crowd let out a collective moan. The loud man at the front was talking very fast. The girl turned back towards the stage in time to see the pretty boy standing with an arm raised in triumph. He looked like he was scanning the back of the hall, looking, searching. Distraction came before the girl could figure out what was going on. It was the loud man with the microphone.
"I don't believe it! I don't believe it! For the first time since the founding of the school, a freshman has won!"
What? It's over? And the boy who looks like a girl won? Wait, isn't this all pretend? He wasn't supposed to win. Mommy and Daddy had said the winners had already been decided. A small snicker distracted her again. The man behind her. The boy up front. He had been searching. Who had he been searching for? The girl turned back around to talk to the man. Only, there was nothing there. No man, no funny coat, not even a chair. But no, wait, she still had the lollipop. He had been there. "Are you enjoying your sucker, honey? Try not to finish it all now. We're going to eat soon." What? How did Mommy know? She hadn't shown her, Daddy, or anyone. "Remember, if you're a good girl, we'll go back to the fun factory and get you another one sometime." "Mommy?" The girl was unsure of herself. She noticed a funny, almost glazed look in her mother's eyes, like she was dreaming. "What do you mean?" "Silly girl, you must be tired. Had a bit too much excitement for one day? Your father bought that lollipop this afternoon at the fun factory. Remember? It's your favorite candy store." "Oh, but Mommy, I didn't—" The girl cut herself short. Her mother was no longer paying attention, that dreamy look gone from her eyes. The little girl's brother had just walked up to their row from the stage, and he looked very disappointed. Fun factory? She didn't go to the fun factory today. Did she? No, there was a man. He had a funny coat. He gave me a lollipop. He had been here. The girl turned again, looking for the man she now wasn't sure existed.
You've been listening to the podcast-only novel of The House of Grey by Collin Earl. For more news, information, and updates, please visit houseofgreybook.com. Music by Figure of Beans. Visit the band at myspace.com/figureofbeans. Cover art for The House of Grey provided by James Thane. More information at THAYN.net.